17 floors up, and when it rains, I can feel those drops in my window pane. Lets me know that I'm still here. When the sun comes out, I will go outside. When it breaks through clouds, I will give a smile. Lets me know that I'm still here. Sometimes I want to run away, to find good times again, to find all my old friends.
Times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and good times. I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and up, and when I cry, I can see this city through my watered eyes. Lets me know that I'm still here. When my eyes clear up, I will go outside. I'll imagine you're still by my side. Lets me know that I'm still here.
Sometimes I want to run away, to find good times again, to find all my old friends. Run away, to the nearest place where I'll find all my old friends.
Times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and good times. I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and good times. I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and
I live 17 floors up, and when it rains, I can feel those drops in my window pane. Lets me know that I'm still here. When the sun comes out, I will go outside. When it breaks through clouds, I will give a smile. Lets me know that I'm still here. Sometimes I want to run away, to find good times again, to find all my old friends.
times, I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again, and good times. I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times,
again to find all my old friends. Run away to the nearest place where I'll find all my old friends.
Times I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And good times I said good times, find my friends again. I said I wanna have good times, good times, find my friends again. And
you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got trust, we can never have love. I was putting in the hours, I was. But you were calling me a liar, 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 liar. I've been putting in the hours, I was. And it's coming down to now and now and now and now and never. I was putting in the I'm sick of fighting the things that you said. I don't wanna burn all our bridges ahead. I'm tired of going to bed when you left me on red just to turn up the noise in my head. I told you that one day ain't never enough. You tell me I hate you, I still call you up. If we don't got trust, we can never have love. I was putting in the hours, I was. But you were calling me a liar, 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 liar. I've been putting in the hours, I was. And it's coming down to now and now and now and now and never. I was putting in the putting in the I'm still, but I can't stop. Can't see a net, what if I fall? Without a net, where do I fall? High in the spotlight, can't fly, afraid of heights. Can't see the end, what if I choke? There is no end, I'm gonna choke. There's no way out of this circus. We paint on smiles so they can't hurt us. Cage with the lions now, begging for silence now. Trying to escape, there is no way out of this circus. Begging for silence now. Trying to escape, there is no way out of this circus. Trapeze tilted in the air. No safety if this fabric tears. If I lose grip, where do I
Just don't never go the Carlos Boozer route.
Oh, it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Generation Orange. It is 7 o'clock Central Time on 7/29. Oh, we are live. I can see myself. That's a handsome man, if I do say so myself.
What's up, Sean? How you doing,
And I'm
man?
on the screen too, but that's okay. Mark didn't hear me. Man, it has been a week of ups and downs, and and that's just soccer related. That doesn't even count life or work or anything like that. It's just soccer. It's been, it's
Life.
good. It's good to have soccer. I'm gonna say that it is good to have soccer back. Okay, it is good to have MLS soccer and NWSL soccer back. We've had Premier League soccer, Bundesliga soccer, Korean League soccer. We've had all sorts of soccer, but Kello says Villa is safe. It's okay. Villa is safe. It's okay. Yeah, that was actually impressive. Trezeguet has been fantastic those last couple of matches for him.
Hey, man, I just want to say to Callo, you're welcome. Because Arsenal, wasn't on their game that day, and I took a 1-0 lead on that win on that day, and then obviously we took care of Watford for y'all. So you're welcome.
So let's talk Premier League. We weren't gonna open the show with Premier League talk, but let's talk Premier League real quick because you want to start with this. So we're gonna roll with it for just a minute. So let's discuss the match that is of paramount importance for two teams in particular. This match is incredibly important for Arsenal and for Tottenham. Arsenal versus Chelsea.
And ham, like Sergio would say.
Whatever. Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm pointing at
No,
the,
so,
look,
I mean,
I'm pointing at the Premier
obviously-
League table. You just can't see it. I'm pointing at the Premier League table.
It's
You
all
just
good.
can't see it.
I mean, obviously, those who know me, I'm a huge Gunner fan. I'm a Arsenal since, I don't know, forever. But yeah, man, this Saturday is very interesting and very exciting because I think this match can be the turning point and hopefully a renaissance in Arsenal because obviously the last couple of years have been a little bit of a ups and downs, like Sean said earlier. A lot of more downs than ups, though, unfortunately for Arsenal and Arsenal fans. But, hopefully this FA Cup final turns out to be a really good showing for Arsenal and what Arteta wants to do in the future. And obviously,
I have every reason to root against Arsenal.
Yeah, for sure. I know. But but before we get to that, I mean, like I said, just being an Arsenal fan, I'm obviously the last 4, 5, 6 years have been a little bit, rocky, to be frank. And hopefully, like I said, this match is the stepping stone or turning point to where Arsenal get back to where they belong, on top of the Premier League. I mean, obviously that's a hefty goal because of what's going on in the Premier League around with other teams, as with Man City, what they're going to do. Obviously, they're going to be super aggressive after that ban was uplifted, Champions League, and they're going to go out there and spin and bring a whole new batch of players. And obviously, with Liverpool and what they got going on over there with that three-headed monster up front, and that back line as well. And I hate to say it, but Man U is seems to have turned it around. Chelsea, obviously, they got money. They're spending out there. They're not hesitant. They've already made 2 huge signings. It looks like they're going for another one and a goalkeeper. So see what Frank Lampard and Chelsea are going to do. And then obviously, there's up and coming teams like Wolves and Leicester City, Arsenal, Tottenham. They're there. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's the great thing about the soccer, man. Like, you just never know where competition is going to come from and who's going to be a surprise team. Like this year, I mean, obviously Sheffield United, first year promoted, and they held down a top 10 spot this season. Coming out of nowhere, realistically, and they did an awesome job, over there. And so we'll see, man. But I'm excited for this Saturday's FA Cup final. And hopefully, it's a win for the Gunners, and London is red.
I'm with Nestor on this one. Definitely, unfortunately, as much as I hate rooting for Chelsea, this is the rare opportunity I will be rooting for Chelsea. And I know that we have a few Blues fans that read and follow the show. And to you guys, I salute you this weekend, and I am definitely in your corner vehemently, as Chelsea beating Arsenal would 100% secure Tottenham getting Europa League and getting to the Europa League group stage, as opposed to having to play basically a play-in style round of group stage matches before that. So, yeah, please, Chelsea beat Arsenal. Be great in the FA Cup. Be wonderful. But either way, hey, we made Europa League, which Europe is Europe, and that's what counts, right? That's what I was told last year when Arsenal made Europe, and that was all that they did. So, you know, hey.
And
hey,
I mean, you know, like,
that's what I was told.
Oh no! There's no knock to Europa League, man. Europa League is a great competition, and if you end up winning it, you know, and lifting that cup, it's a great achievement for your club. You know, it's an international title. It's a really hard tournament to play in, man, because you know it's a lot of hungry teams, that do really well within the restraints of FIFA fair play, because you know a lot of the teams that, if you notice, that play in the Europa League, a lot of teams are the smaller teams, but with pedigree, their respective leagues, that don't go out there and just splash money all around, you know. So you know, when you win a tournament like that, you know, it shows really good signs for your club and team. And then obviously, if you go on and the Champions League holder at the UEFA Super Cup, it's even better. So
absolutely.
But look,
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, you know, before we turn this into a Premier League show, which we are 100% not a Premier League show, trust me. I do want to give a shout out though to Aston Villa for securing a Premier League next season. That really is a big deal, and they did a great job to get there. And I'm interested to see if Brentford can make the impossible happen. They are ever so close to making the absolute absolute ridiculousness of promotion relegation come true at this point, and it would be phenomenal for them. It would be really bad for them also on the flip side, because I don't think they're even remotely close to Premier League level at this point. But I would love to see them making it in to the Premier League, just for the pure fact of that financial boost for them would be phenomenal.
It'd be massive.
It'd be huge. Man. It'd be huge. But, you know, enough Premier League talk. There's some really important things that we want to talk about tonight. Yeah, we'll see. You know, it depends on how the show goes, but we may come back to it. But because clearly you guys have your own thoughts. And look, I'm not gonna lie. I found myself to some extent rooting for Wolves the last couple of matches, only because I really like the way that they're built, and I really wanted to see them do well. It was kind of sad to see them knocked down, but on the positive side, Tottenham did beat ultimately jumped them. So win-win in my book, I guess, ultimately. But
let's talk some champions, man.
Oh yeah,
champions.
That's what I was about to get there. I had to
talk about champions,
credit,
man.
Credit was due. You know, credit was credit due. Let's talk champions. So Liverpool secured the. I'm just kidding. Liverpool secured the championship like months ago. No, so let's talk NWSL. Let's talk NWSL Challenge Cup. Let's talk Houston freaking Dash. This circle will not break. What a statement tournament for Rachel Daly. What a statement tournament for James Clarkson. What a statement tournament for the entire Houston Dash squad. What a statement in general in that final match against a very good Chicago Red Stars team. And as I said, even sweeter because we beat Kalia Watt.
Didn't I call it last show?
I mean, you did, but I was really rooting against Chicago in that in the semifinal anyways.
Man, but I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Dash supporter. You know, obviously, it's
he's ending the show because we started talking Liverpool for just a split second.
You know, it's exciting for Dash and that whole team over there and organization, because I mean, obviously, you know, they've been in the league for 6 years and never made the playoffs, and to go into this tournament, you know, everybody saw the odds. You know, you could look up the odds for the Dash winning this tournament. I think I saw somewhere it was like 2,000 to 1, which, man, I wish I would have put $100 down. That would have been a nice little payday. But man, they did a great job. You know, they were united. They held it down. You know, and Rachel Daly obviously winning tournament MVP, just showing her quality and class, showing her skill. and her leadership, showing that she is a capable captain and deserving of that captain's armband.
Absolutely.
As well as Campbell, because I think she's the second captain. Obviously, she had that big game in the penalty shootout where she saved 2 or 3 penalty shots, which obviously propelled us to the next round and obviously propelled the Dynamo to the dash.
Saved a total of 2 technically, and then 1 was a miss, but even still, it's huge.
Yeah, so obviously that propelled them to the next round and at the end propelled them to the championship. So big ups to them, man. And dash the fuck on, man, for real.
For sure. No, they came out and they did exactly what they needed to do. Not only in that final match, but in the semifinal and matches before that. Look, they won matches in every way imaginable. It was never. They weren't dominant throughout every match, but they won when it counted. They did what they had to do when it mattered, and that is a absolutely what you look for in a championship squad. You look for a team that can find that extra bit of energy to get it done, whatever it takes. And I think that the one thing I really took away from this team that spoke a lot to me particularly was James Clarkson really emphasized this, and every one of them emphasized it as well. But it started with James Clarkson, and it was, look, if we're going to win this, we have to win it as a team. We have to be a group that plays together, not a group of individuals playing together. There's a big difference, right? And so that is exactly what I keep saying the Dynamo need to do. That's what they need to be. They need to be a team instead of a bunch of individuals on the pitch playing together. And it's emphatically proven with the way that the Dash went about their business that if you can come together as a team, and look, Leicester City did it a few years ago. We've seen it across other sports as well. It's not always the top dogs that win, and a lot of the times if you have an underdog that wins, it's because they have a team that works together as opposed to, like I said, a bunch of individuals playing. It's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Rachel Daly and Campbell get the headlines and everything, but I mean that whole team, Prince, Groom, Schmidt, all those ladies out there, they all did a great job, playing their position, playing their roles, making sure that they're united, and just making sure they had each other's back in that tournament. And obviously it showed when they played, during the ups and downs, even. Obviously that first match when they were having the highs of Utah 3-1, and then obviously ending up with a draw. It's kind of a bummer, but then they came back the next match and they did their thing. And then I think they lost the third match or whatever. But still, man, it just shows how immunity can help uplift each other instead of having to depend on 1 or 2 players. Because if that 1 or 2 player has a down time or whatever, their morale's down, then obviously the whole team is down, because that 1 or 2 players carry so much weight. But when you have a whole team morale involved in it, you obviously show the chemistry. If somebody's down, you bring them back up. You keep them moving, you keep going forward, and that's what these girls did. And my hat's off to them, man. Congratulations, and hopefully this is the beginning of a winning culture for the Dash.
Real quick, we're gonna bring Pat onto the show. He wants to talk Dash, and frankly, we're already talking Dash, so might as well. Hey, Pat, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
What's up, Pat? I think this is the first time me and Pat are on the same time.
Hi, everyone. How are y'all?
As always, I am fantastic and wonderful, and the Dash are champions, and that's all that matters.
Hi.
Doing well.
It's good to hear. So I inadvertently prepped for this, and I actually have some stats and some things I wanted to
look at you
talk about, and then I'm going to do my usual hypothetical questions to y'all to get your opinions on it.
Hey, I like it. Let's go.
All right, so
let's go.
A lot of the stats I ran. So one of the things I was most impressed with is that it looks like for every game of this tournament, we pretty much won the stats on duels won and tackles won. So the Dash come at you hard, and they come at you without fouling, which I think is really ideal. What I really like is that our possession was normally in the 60s to 70%, or our pass accuracy, I mean, was normally in the 60 to 70%, which fantastic when used to watching the Dynamo play.
Hey now.
Now our possession was usually 50, 60%, except for Portland, which was actually ended up being 30%. Portland dominated that game, but we end up getting the win, and which excites me about that, also coming from a Dynamo fan, is that they had to play defense that entire game. They got outpassed 2-1, and they still ended up out shooting Portland, not only on shots, but on shots on goal. They absolutely adapted, which I think is fantastic. One of my favorite takeaways from this is that I was actually pretty pessimistic in the beginning of this tournament because we forget that going into the playoffs, since no one could get eliminated, we were 1-1-2. Like, we lost 2 games and won 1 and managed to draw 1, which we should have won. So I started getting pessimistic because, the team started figuring out if they shut down Daly, they kind of did flounder a little with striking. But I think the playoffs here showed us that this coach, Clarkson, can adapt, because I think he started noticing that, and all of a sudden, here comes Oyster, here comes Groom, and then Prince in the finals. Oh my God, Prince had an amazing game. I don't think she missed one pass. I believe, and I may be biased because I was freaking out, I believe she won almost every 1v1 she had, which, coming from a Dynamo fan and watching Elis, you're not used to that. And it was just a fantastic display. So,
Pat, and just to go off of what you're saying, I mean, it just goes back to what we were saying earlier. When you play as a team, you have each other's back, and you're willing to go out there and cover for that player for whatever reason, she gets beat or whatever. And that's what they did, man. And like I said, that's why they're champions.
Yeah, the tackles won, the duels won, and seeing Mewis just losing it and crying on the sideline when she had to get subbed out in the finals, like, that showed their passion, and I really did appreciate that.
They were, truly, without a doubt, invested in this tournament. It wasn't just an opportunity to get fresh for a season or, whatever you want to call it. It was truly something that they absolutely came together and wanted as a team, but wanted as individuals as well, but especially as a team. And they played their freaking hearts out, match in and match out. And you look at the semifinal where they had to win on PKs, and Jane Campbell, as Mark alluded to, was absolutely huge. And then in the final, they honestly, they dominated that match. They had a lot of chances against them, but that was always going to be the case. They're very much a counterattacking team, and then going up the goal to begin with early on really created that setup, and it showed. And all credit to Shea Groom on that last goal, the second goal, to dribble, basically pass it around the keeper to herself to score the goal. I mean, it was a fantastic team effort, and everyone was involved in some way, shape, or form the entire match. And it was even, and I think it speaks more to the team mentality that when Christy Mewis went out, the team seemed to step it up defensively even more. Everybody else was playing harder at that point. Go ahead, Mark.
And that Groom goal, essentially won the Golden Boot for Rachel Daly.
It did. No, it wasn't essentially. It absolutely won it for her because she was level on goal.
It gave her her second assist in the tournament. And that's basically what
that was the
her to that Golden Boot.
That was the tiebreaker. And it was, I mean, I lost my crap when that goal went in because I didn't think there was any chance they were going to give the assist to Daly because that was not an assist, moment, or play, but they did. And for that goal specifically to be the moment that wins her, won her the Golden Boot, I'm sure at the end of the match when she found out she had earned it, it just made that match, the tournament, everything else all the more special. And I will note on Twitter, the very first match of the tournament, I said, Rachel Daly is here to show everyone she is winning this Golden Boot of the tournament. And so I'm really happy that she won because she proved me right, which is always good. What else, Pat? What you got for us? What else you got for us?
The other thing I like is that this tournament, not only with the ratings with CBS, showed that people like women's soccer, but man, we got a few bits of definitive proof that this city is behind this team. So one of
Yeah.
my favorite things is there was a food truck coffee station near their training grounds.
Yeah.
Dash had never had to pay for their coffee all tournament. Like Bio City Republic and other anonymous people paid for their coffee every morning, which had to have been a great boost because they didn't do it just for game day, but they did it for practices almost every day.
Every
It was
day.
awesome. But the
You know,
two
and
things. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say real quick, there was an interview with Daly, and and she was talking about, they asked her about Houston and playing for the city and that sort of thing, and she said, yeah, we're absolutely playing for the city, and it's not just us, it's really truly playing for the city, and to me, again, it's another one of those things that elevates Rachel Daly above a regular star player, if you will. Look, your U.S. Women's National Team players, they're not out there doing that. They're not. They're not repping a specific city most of the time. They're themselves. We're U.S. Women's National Team players. We're always going to be better, right? Type of thing. Rachel Daly has earned every bit of success that she has gotten in NWSL. She was never handed a single thing, and that makes this even more impressive, considering the level of caliber of player that she was going against consistently throughout this tournament.
Which I think in all reality means that she's just her own type of superstar, her own special type of superstar in this league and for our team. And I'm happy to have her on here, man.
Oh,
and
hell
obviously
yeah.
I think she's the longest tenured Dash player currently. And for her to, just to obviously she's been through all the downs with all the teams and all the losing and all the trades and all the different type of players that came in and try to the team win but never could, and then at the end of the day she's the one who puts this weight on her shoulders to be a captain, a true captain, to not just motivate with words but motivate on the pitch and off the pitch.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Pat.
I digressed from my original point, but you mentioned the U.S. women's players saying we're here and we're better, but yeah, did you hear about the controversy where U.S. Soccer was actually dictating playing minutes for some of the players? Like Rose Lavelle was restricted to 30 minutes.
I'm not surprised. Again, these are players that consistently are given every benefit that you could possibly get, and it goes to show that U.S. Soccer needs to get out from owning the contracts of these players and instead needs to just give the money to NWSL and let NWSL hand it to the players, because it gets those players out from underneath the thumb of U.S. Soccer. They are beholden to U.S. Soccer. If U.S. Soccer says we don't really want these players to play that much because we don't want them injured, or we don't want them playing much because we don't feel like there's a benefit to this tournament, that hurts the league. That hurts their teams. Yep. And these players are already, and look, I'm going to say it, the U.S. Women's National Team players are already prima donnas. They are groomed to be prima donnas, and in fact, it has been shown through interviews and stories that have been told from former players that the way that the structure is within that team, veteran players basically expect things to be given to them, and expect when new players come in that there's going to be respect level there. They don't expect to have to earn it. And to me, as great as the U.S. Women's National Team are, it's not going to be much longer before another team, another international squad, absolutely usurps their throne and usurps that reign from them. And frankly, I'm ready to see that, because I want to see women's soccer really truly arrive on that global stage.
It could be Rachel Daly in England.
Hey, look, she has proven she can be that level of player to lift a team up, and that's all it takes, man. I'd be floating that flag outside like it's nobody's business too.
Well, I do love how the Dash capitalized on the marketing with Rachel Daly's locker room speech of "Break the Circle." It's been perfect.
And the Shea Groom celebration, and the Shea Groom, the various graphics that they've had of the players. I mean, they've done a fantastic job in general of just the entire tournament, everything. If you look at it, everything was done from a media perspective to hype. Completely hype, and keep everybody entertained and keep everybody glued in and zoned in on it, and everybody did. It was you point out the locker room, speech and how they promoted that heavily, and they absolutely should have. Now my question is, why do we not see the same thing for the Dynamo? Are there no players capable on the Dynamo of being that same level of player? We'll get to that later, but it just begs those questions. When the Dash, with their limited amount of funding, can be at this point at this level, why are the Dynamos still struggling in the doldrums like they are? And we'll talk about that. But, it's a very good point there, Pat.
Yeah, their marketing and then the Houston Dynamo cross-promoting with them and, all the Stan accounts, which leads me to 2 tweets from Stephen Joff that had me really, really excited about the support they've been getting from Houston. But he released the ratings for a bunch of NWSL games for the finals, and one of the reasons I'm excited is he always releases these rankings all the time. And you probably saw this on Discord with Kenny, but me and him were like, we've never seen the city of Houston on these ratings. But he released the ratings for the finals, and Houston was number 3 in overall viewership of the finals, which fantastic.
And you pointed it out, even that's important, but also on top of that, from a national perspective, the viewership of the final across the entire country was really really good. And that's huge for not just NWSL, but for the women's game in general. Go ahead, Mark. I can see you got something to say.
No, and obviously, obviously with Houston being in the final, that helped with the ratings. But I think on that same rankings that you're mentioning, Pat, I think I saw that Houston was in the top 10 for that first match as well, right?
That was the one I was going to bring up next. That one's the one I was most excited about, is the random Portland versus North Carolina game. Houston cracked top 10, which means that the city was so damn excited for the Dash that everyone tuned in to see who their potential next opponent would be. And the Dash hadn't played yet, but it looks like the city was so damn excited about the team that they tuned in for this game just to see who their next opponents were. And that level of commitment and excitement from the city is, holy hell, that's engagement. And that one was the one I freaked out about the most. So, yeah, good call and bring that up, Mark, because, that one was the one I was leaving for the end.
Yeah, man, it just goes to show that and you put a product out there that's entertaining and fun, and obviously as close as these girls are, and the sky's the limit, man. And hopefully, after this whole COVID stuff finishes and we get everything back to normal, hopefully, and all that good stuff, that the support is still out there for these ladies, and we go out there in drones and support them for sure.
So that was basically all my stats and everything. So I wanted to bring up one hypothetical, since y'all are smarter on this than me. Now that the Dynamo,
you don't give yourself nearly enough credit, Pat, but go ahead.
I try. Now that the Dash have proven that they're a good tournament team, with the coaching style, the stats, their fitness levels and everything, with the way they played, and with how slow they started off in this tournament, do you think this will translate to being able to be this productive and have this much success over a course of a season?
Want to go first, Sean, or should I go first?
I'll let you go first.
So my thought on that is, obviously tournament play, and I think me and Sean, we talked about this at a prior show, that, tournament play is a lot different from regular season play, because, obviously the games mean more. They're much
Unless
more.
You're the Dynamo.
There's so much more focus, because it's basically, win or go home, right? And I think this is motivation for the Dash into where, hey, look, we need to make the playoffs, because obviously the playoffs is a tournament type structure, right? So that which points well to the Dash, obviously, if they make it to the playoffs, to where they can go and keep it going and maybe even lift the cup, which I think, hopefully is something that we see here in the near future. But I think it just emphasizes on the fact that sometimes regular season games can be kind of as a equal, and can just whatever, just we're losing this one and we'll just let it go. Maybe they'll put a little bit more emphasis on these regular season games to make sure that they qualify for the playoffs, and then obviously hopefully have a nice little run like they did with this tournament as well.
Yeah, I do think it can translate to regular season play, because now you have a team that believes in themselves. You have players that believe in themselves, players that believe in what James Clarkson is putting out there. And you brought it up earlier. You said, James Clarkson, and talked about how he as a coach helped get them here. And it's important because he was very much, from a general perspective, an unknown when it came to the professional game, especially the women's professional game. He was, for those that don't know, he shut up, Gallo. He it really threw me off. He was the director of the academy, the Dynamo Academy, prior to this, and he took over the Dash. And his first season had a very, started very slow, and then the Dash did pick it up towards the end of the season. And so that's why I say yes, it can translate to a season, because they've already shown that they can translate it to a season because they were doing it before the tournament even started. Yes, they're going to have some results that are struggles to earn or going to be difficult. But, it needs to be said that this team, the way they're constructed, is built for longevity. It's not a team built for a one and done. They have not brought in any single player that that is going to be absolutely coveted by other teams, with the exception of Rachel Daly and Shea Groom, and even Christy Mewis at this point. But these were with the exception of Rachel Daly, these two players, when I'm talking about Shea Groom and Christy Mewis, were cast-offs from other teams. They weren't even starting on their other teams consistently. Christy Mewis was coming back from an ACL injury, I'll give you that. But even before that, she was traded 5 times within the league, has played for 5 different teams within the NWSL, and there's less than 10 teams. She's played for more than half of the league, and yet she was a key cornerstone to the Dash's run in this tournament. Rachel Daly, obviously we drafted her. She was always our player. But then Shea Groom, she was playing for Portland before this. And we proved that, she is as good a player as any other player out there when given the right opportunity and with the right setup. And I think that speaks to, the talking about the season and does this translate to a season? Because of these players, you can afford to bring in other players to surround them with. You can build a team around a Rachel Daly and a Shea Groom and a Christy Mewis. And these are players now, I guarantee you that they're going to be asking every step of the way, can we stay with the Dash? They don't want to be traded anymore. They want to be here. There has been a culture. Hello, Paul Holliker and culture of development. There is a culture that has been ingrained into this team in particular, into this group, into the club at the women's side. There's a culture that has been ingrained and been formed that creates an identity that is extremely hard to break. It is an identity, and it is a culture that believes that we are stronger together than we are individually. We are stronger as a unit than we are if we were just just our group together by itself. And they proved it. I mean, they absolutely proved it. And yes, to Callo's point earlier, which he was kind of joking, yes, there were U.S. Women's National Team players that didn't play. I don't care. You play who's in front of you, right? Of course, I've been told that a number of times. That's how it works. But on the flip side, they still proved it. They proved it against good teams that were expected to win the tournament or at least vie for the tournament championship. It wasn't like they beat scrub teams along the way. They had to beat Portland Thorns that took out NC Courage. Say what you will about the Dash didn't have to face North Carolina Courage. Well, that's great. But guess what? North Carolina couldn't even get past Portland. So say what you will. Put your asterisk on it. I don't really care. I don't. Because at the end of the day, the Dash are still the NWSL Challenge Cup champions. And, yes, they're going to translate it to success when the season starts. I was really long-winded to answer that question, but yes.
That's what I was going for. It was a bit of a rile up because
I'm going to prod Sean and rile him up. Yeah, that's the way to go. I'm already riled up. You don't need to rile me up anymore.
It's fun to poke the bear, but no, I'm going to have to agree with y'all as well. And yeah, the coach showed that he can adapt, and seeing the locker room videos, seeing the video of him leading everyone into a samosas chant, it shows that they love him too. It's a tight-knit family. This tournament ended up being a great team building exercise, because you're right, because the Houston Dash ended up being like the punching bag of the NWSL with players like requesting to leave and not wanting to be here. And now,
Thank you, by the way, those players that requested to leave. Thank you, because without you, we won a championship.
yeah, and now it's a tight knit family. They all love each other. They're all excited to come back to Houston, and yeah, the whole
Championship parade in cars tomorrow.
Yeah.
5:30 p.m. at
You know-
at the stadium.
And the disrespect, I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, you know, with the odds, them winning this tournament were so low. You know, I think they were the second to last team on that odds chart, if I remember correctly from seeing the chart that I saw, or even the last place team. But you know, obviously, hey, look what you can accomplish. You have people united going after the same goal.
Yeah.
this team they're a big family now, and I mean it's just crazy to see the dynamic change so damn quickly, especially with the coaching change. It's kind of intense. It's almost whiplash. But yeah, so that is my contribution to the Dash. I was almost ended up having to get a Shea Groom tattoo because of a Discord promise. Big woo on that one.
Yeah, Austin was right there with you.
Yeah,
I still think that he should get that tattoo. I really, really do. It's awful close, but yeah, I mean, you know, hats off to the team, hats off to the coach, hats off to the club for having the wherewithal to put him in as coach, because again, that was a very much a questionable decision at the time. I mean, I know of fans, Bayou City Republic people in particular, you know, that question the move. Is this really the right move? I'm going to reserve judgment until I get a chance to see it. I guarantee right now they are loving every minute of James Clarkson being head coach. But again, it requires, you know, it's not just coach. It's not just a single player. It's not just Rachel. It's not just Shea Groom. It's not just Megan Oyster or Christy Mewis or, you know, Vasali. It is every bit of everyone coming together and playing together. And you can't have a team without having everyone come together. You just can't. It doesn't work as well.
And yeah, and again, a huge shout out to Bayou City Republic for not only paying for everyone's coffee every damn day, but they're selling championship scars now, and for $5 extra, they donate one to the team, which they have to be taking a small loss on that. And man, their commitment level is intense.
So Pat, I think we're gonna let you go now, but we do appreciate you joining us for the Dash chat. We're gonna dash probably a little longer, not much longer, but a little longer because questions are coming in. But again, thanks for joining us, Pat. We do appreciate it, and have a great night, sir.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye, everyone.
So Christian asked the question: who makes the player decisions for the Dash? Who buys and sells the players? That's a really good question. So it's kind of a combination of a few different things. There are front office personnel that are involved with the Dash. The Dash have their own air quote individual positions that are over that. But for the most part, James Clarkson kind of asks for players, and you know, they work to try to get him the players that he's asking for. I can tell you from what I understand, Matt Jordan has a hand in that. Now, what level of that is there, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, and I don't think the team wants to share that, but he does have some level of involvement in the process, which is what I assume you were essentially asking was, hey, does Matt Jordan have anything to do with this? The answer is yes, a little bit.
Well, I mean, that Dash talk, you know, of championships and all that good stuff, you know, it's great to talk about. On the flip side, we have another tournament that we didn't do so well in.
You know, before we talk, shut up, Jorge. Can we request a transfer for you know who? Are you talking Dash? Who do you want a transfer of? I'm actually kind of curious now what you're getting at, Christian. I'm really curious.
Request a transfer for you know who.
I need to know who he's talking about. That's the problem. I'm really, really curious because there's obviously some underlying story here, or joke that I'm missing out on. Can we request a transfer for Matt? We're going to talk about that actually in a little bit. Before we get to that, though, the Dynamo made some news and shared some news yesterday. I believe that happened yesterday. Ian Hoffman, Huh? What'd you say?
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Thanks, Cal. Ian Hoffman, a under 21 player now, used to be an under 17, under 19 player in Bundesliga 2 for Folgnar. Pronounce that one.
Karlsruhe.
Karlsruher. Well, I should have kept Pat on here. He could have pronounced all the names for us from the Bundesliga.
Karlsruhe or SC?
Karlsruher SC. FC. SC? No, it's FC, right?
SC, like soccer club.
No, SC. It's not soccer club. The S stands for something else. I guarantee it. They don't call it soccer in Europe, buddy. Not even in Germany. Not even in Germany, they don't call it soccer. It's coming. Don't worry, Christian. It is very much coming. But Ian Hoffman, this kid is one of the one of the U.S. men's national team youth players. He has been playing in Germany for the. He was originally part of FC somebody's academy over there, and I can't remember the name now. I knew the team name previously. Part of their academy. He came over as part of their academy to Germany. He played with them for a few seasons, just getting up to snuff, so to speak. And then he ended up transferring over to Karlsruhe and played for them. And as a defensive midfielder, he led the team in goals and assists. I want you to realize, as a defensive midfielder, that should not happen in any league, at any level, anywhere. And so, as a U17, he led their U17s in goals and assists as a defensive midfielder. I'm going to come back to this every time because that is the number 8 player that we have been looking for the Dynamo. So he has signed a pre-contract for 2021 to play for the Dynamo. What he is doing now is he has come over and he's playing or going to play for / is playing for RGV this year so that he can get up to game speed, I guess, and get familiar with the system, get familiar with the coaching. But here's the thing. This was the most important thing about this transfer. And this was a transfer. This was not a trade, it was a signing, but it was a transfer. We had to pay a transfer fee. Why is this important? This happened solely because Tab Ramos and Omid Namizi are our coaches right now, head coach and assistant coach, respectively. He actually called it out in an interview. He said, the reason I chose the Dynamo and am coming to the Dynamo, because he had offers from Germany. He had offers from other teams in Bundesliga 2. He had a contract on the table from Karlsruhe that he turned down to come here. Karlsruhe Sport Club. See, Sport Club. I knew the S was not soccer. That would have been dumb if it was soccer. I'd have been like, what? Germany? What? That wouldn't have made any sense. But he came here specifically for Tab Ramos and Omen Demisi. He pointed it out multiple times. He even said that he believes that Tab Ramos is a coach that is willing to trust youth and willing to give them opportunities. But what I really liked about this kid is he said something very important. He said, but I understand that youth have to earn their spot. And it is not a given that they will have that spot. They must come in, they must put in the work and the commitment and earn it to deserve it. And I'm like, yes, you are the one that we've needed.
And the fact that that these young players understand that, obviously we're working with Tab in the U.S. youth national team camps.
And he played, and by the way, he played under Omen Namisi as a U17 player for the youth national team. I just wanted to say that just so that was also clear why that was important.
And like I said, the fact that they understand that coming in, and they understand that Tab being as tough as he is, especially with training and all this stuff, that he gives him the best potential to unlock his potential.
Yeah,
and
love that.
And to give him the best, I guess, pathway to wherever he wants to take his career, obviously, because he's a young kid. He's 19, 20 years old. And
he's 18. He's not 19 yet. He's
okay,
18.
Okay, even better. 18-year-old kid,
Preaching to the choir.
And obviously, he's already in the U.S. camps in the youth department of it, and the sky's the limit, man. And if this kid's gonna work as hard as he's talking right now, then hopefully he does really well, and he comes in and he earns those first team minutes and comes in and pushes some of these old veterans or these other players that just feel that they are just there because of privilege or whatever, or because I came from wherever, or I have this pedigree behind me or whatever. That's the good thing about youth players, man. For all of us that follow their soccer clubs around the world, youth players come out of nowhere and they push for those minutes because they're hungry. And sometimes they push players that you never thought would be replaced. And that's the great thing about them, man. So hopefully this is one of many.
And here's the other important thing that most people aren't going to even realize out of the gate with this kid. He played with Marcelo Palomino on the youth national team. So you have a familiarity with those two players. Marcelo played with Nico Lemoyne in the academy. And he's played with the other academy players as well, some of them in different settings and scenarios. But we're seeing that youth movement we've been absolutely clamoring for years. I wanted to start with that because as soon as I decide we cut this conversation, the rant is beginning. And it's not beginning yet. We're getting very close though. But I am very proud of this signing as a Dynamo fan because this was a player who chose the Dynamo, who chose Tab Ramos and Oben Demizi. And it is this move very much feels like a move that the Dash kind of made when they brought in a Shea Groom, or they brought in Megan Oyster, or they brought in a Christy Mewis. Same type of feeling, because it was a player who came here because of what the Dash were building. It's a player who came here because of what the Dynamo were doing in terms of with Tab Ramos and letting Tab Ramos kind of create this thing that he's creating.
No, and that's the reason why they brought in a coach like Tab, because obviously the pedigree that he has, being the basically second in command for the U.S. national team, under Jurgen, and then obviously doing the great things he did with the U20s and all that stuff in those tournaments. And so he carries the pedigree, especially with these young players and these young up and coming American players, because as we've seen around the world, American players are not being shunned anymore. There's a lot of American players out there overseas, overseas playing in these big clubs, and a lot of it has to do with the way Tab has trained them and brought them up through the youth ranks, and obviously them moving up to the senior team. And it's a great thing to see, and hopefully it continues. Obviously the Dynamo were a little late to the dance when it came to this youth movement and develop and investing in the academy and all that stuff, but we're kind of pushing that fast forward button and trying to catch up as quickly as we can, and hopefully they're making the right plays and signing the right kids and do some great things with these younger.
It's time for that rant. Okay, so you said we're trying to catch up, and here is why I am so frustrated. And it's not just about the result from the match against LA Galaxy. That doesn't matter. This has been brewing for a long time. This has just been me waiting until this point, I guess.
Say it with your chest, Ron.
Say it with my chest. If I did that, I'm going to blow people's eardrums out. Look, I am going to say something that is going to rub some people the wrong way, and I'm okay with that. Dominic Kinnear was here way too long. He should have been gone at the end of 2010, or at least during the 2010 season. There are those out there that would like to argue with me, and you know who you are, Sergio Zelaya, that Dominic Kinnear was successful in his latter years with the Dynamo because they made it to the Eastern Conference Final and won the Eastern Conference Final. I'm going to say that again a few times because it's important to remember the Eastern Conference is a lot easier than the Western Conference, even all the way back in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. Much easier to win in the Eastern Conference than it was in the Western Conference. However, Dominic Kinnear staying here set us back so far because he had this mentality that he could take any number of veteran players from within the league that were not international players, put them all together on the field together, and that they would magically have a run to the championship. He did it a few times, don't get me wrong. But it was built upon the premise that MLS was not advancing forward. You had teams like Seattle, Portland, Toronto FC, New York City FC coming in and starting to change the way that the league operated, the way that teams operated, the way that players were brought into the league. And it set us so far back, multiple years, if not almost nearly a decade back, that we're still playing catch up to try to overcome what we were set back on. We lost easily a good 8 or 9 years because we kept putting Dom in charge. Dom is not a coach to play young players. What has happened? We had a system, a farm system, a reserve system that was inadequate and not up to par. We had FC Dallas swooping in and taking all of our talent from the Houston area, and here's where we are. We are sitting 3 years into Paul Holliker. We're starting to see the effect of Paul Holliker being here. But we are now, oh man, I did the pinky up and you missed it. It was glorious before I started the rant. But it has all set us up to be where we are, to be digging out of this massive hole in this massive rut. What amplified this, what exemplified this the most, was the fact that Chris Kennedy was here for so long. Is he a good businessman? Sure, that's fine. Is he a good sports businessman? Hell to the no. I don't think the guy could manage his way in a sports business out of a freaking paper bag at this point. Look, I say this because the combination of Chris Kennedy and Dominic Kinnear, it did net us 2 Eastern Conference championships. Woo! Guess what? It also netted us 10 to 12 years of absolute shit. Absolute, total, and utter shit. I am talking about transfers for players that are never going to succeed in this league. I'm talking about players that have come to the team from other teams and trades that have set us back. Now, some people have pointed out that Matt Jordan has been a big part of that, and I think you're right, and I'm beginning to transfer to that side of maybe Matt Jordan's not the right GM for us because he keeps swinging and missing on certain things. But I think there's another piece here to the puzzle. We keep bringing in players that have absolutely no passion for playing on the Dynamo. We have brought in players consistently that are not leaders on the pitch, in the locker room, or elsewhere. Boniak Garcia is our biggest leader in the locker room. Are you kidding me? If that's the case, we are doomed from the start. Minor Figueroa is one of the biggest, locker room, voices. It's the same thing. To Callow's point, every GM we've ever had has swung and missed. We've only had one GM. What are you talking about? Unless you're counting Dominic Kinnear. But it's the fact that we continue to see the same thing over and over. Look, this is not what happened against LA Galaxy is not a new thing for the Dynamo. Pat pointed it out. It's been pointed out on Twitter multiple times. The Dynamo, after the 65th minute, become a complete train wreck. They can't defend. They can't score goals. Once other teams start to figure things out, it is clear that the Dynamo are going to get run into the ground. And look, I would love to sit here and give you positivity and hope and all that. And trust me, I do think that there are positives to be had. But this team is not equipped to win. Not even equipped. I'm not even talking about winning a championship. I'm talking about winning a freaking tournament. I'm talking about winning a group stage. I am talking about winning a must-win match against a team that is absolute trash. That just came off a 6-0 drubbing. And you could only score 1 goal, and you conceded a goal. I don't get it. You go from Dominic Kinnear, and again, I think it comes back to holding Dominic Kinnear too long. You go from Dominic Kinnear, who's a coach that clearly was able to get the most out of players, to Owen Coyle, to Wilmer Cabrera, and this is what we have. We have players that don't know how to condition themselves for 90 minutes. We have tactics that don't work for a full 90 minutes. Look, the press is great, but you have to understand when to press. You have to understand that you can't always press, because if you always press, your players at the 65th minute are going to be gassed. And you only have 3 subs. In this tournament, we had 5 subs, and that wasn't enough to overcome the exhaustion the players were feeling. And that included 2 water breaks. I mean, look, we still looked shit after the 65th minute, and that was with 2 water breaks and 5 subs. hate to think what we would be if we had to go to full 90 with no water breaks and 3 subs. We'd be boned to the end. And look, the old way of doing things as the Dynamo, it has to end. We have to have a reset switch flipped. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. We have to have the reset switch flipped. We have to really, truly dive into this youth movement, because I guarantee you the youth are going to lead the way. I guarantee you Ian Hoffman in 2 to 3 years is going to be a star on this team. Once Albert Elise is out of this roster and out of this locker room, this team will instantly get better. Look, I have been a fan of Albert Elise for a very long time, but he proved he is still a child. He is still immature. He still does not understand football at its core. He cost the Dynamo the chance to advance in this tournament. If he is in that match, this game, I feel, is a little bit different enough that we score 1 extra goal and we still advance. Go ahead, Mark.
So I have 2 questions for you.
Okay, let's go.
One just simple yes or no question, and then the second one we can be.
You know, nothing with me is a yes or no. Come on now.
So, going back on the Kinnear thing, I tend to agree with you, man. You know, obviously, you know, Kinnear, what he did with the Dynamo, you know, he's respected. You know, 2 cups, 4 finals, great. You know, some people who say that, you know, he inherited the team, but you know, but he led them to championships. He coached them to championships, so we have to at least give him that, because a lot of coaches inherit great teams and don't win chips, right? So if Dynamo would have won, let's say, one of the 2 finals against LA Galaxy, would you still have the same mindset?
Which one are you talking about? 11 and 12?
Yeah, let's say they won. Let's say they split those 2 finals 1-1, right?
I would still have the same feeling. Actually, before we, never mind. Okay, Sergio is going to join us here in a minute. Actually, I called him out, so I'm glad he's joining. He is going to join us here in a minute as a call-in.
Okay.
But let's go ahead. You asked me your second question.
Second question, and this is more towards the now, right? So obviously, you know, you see what, let's say, for example, what Atlanta United is doing out there right now. You know, they let go of the coach, a very decorated coach in Europe, and they've won some championship with him, right? But they let him go after a poor showing, maybe even worse than what the Dynamo showed out there, right?
Oh no, it was worse. It was not maybe worse. It was worse. It was. It was against lesser competition too. Just want to throw that out there.
But the front office was swift with their process, have ambition, and all over the Twitterverse and soccer outlets and transfer news, you see their name pop up. Players like Jonathan Gonzalez, an old buddy of ours, Kubo Torres. You know,
please take Kubo. Please, Atlanta, take Kubo. Oh my God.
Obviously, the Jurgen Damm deal before the tournament started. You know, So we all know that Atlanta is very ambitious. How do you feel about a club like that doing what they're doing, and as opposed to what the Dynamo are doing right now?
I've said it before. I accept the fact that the Dynamo are not going to be a high-spending team. I just accept it. I understand from a financial perspective, our ownership group does not have the money. Now, I know you're given that look. I understand. However, I think that because of the salary cap, because of the way that there's salary budget, air quote, and TAM and GAM and all that stuff, I do think we should have a better. There's no doubt we should have a better team than we have. But I also think part of this is, I look at Atlanta, and they're doing what we should have done when Kinnear started to struggle in 2010. The end of 2010, the beginning of 2011 wasn't us lighting it up either. We struggled initially out of the gate in 2011. So he should have been canned. I mean, he absolutely should have. He got lucky that he was held on, and we got lucky that we held on to him. And yes, that's great. Still waiting for Sergio to get back. Go ahead.
Just read the question real quick before you go on. Like, obviously, we all know that we're not going to spend with anything close to where Atlanta goes. But I'm talking more in context of signing players who can help us now. No, obviously, I'm for the youth movement. You and I, we've had talks offline. I'm happy with what's going on with the young players. Him moving, him signing players from the academy, bringing in youngins. But what about right now, the short term? I mean, are we gonna go out there and try to win and try to make the playoffs this season? If there is a season, what's going on?
Oh, we're going to try. That's never a question. That's
Yeah.
always their air quote approach. However, I think Kenny points to something that I think at this point we can all understand is something that's important. The fact that Minor Figueroa has played every game as a center back is a brutal sign of the construction of this roster. That is paramount. We have other center backs that are decent enough they could be playing. But Minor Figueroa is better than them at that point as a 35-year-old player. He might even be 36 now.
He's 37.
37-year-old center back. Dear God, he's my age. As a 37-year-old center back, 36, Kenny says. 36-year-old center back. Thanks, Kenny. I trust Kenny's numbers more than you, Mark. Sorry. A 36-year-old center back. So he's 1 year younger than me. Good God. A 36-year-old center back is better than every young center back you have in your team. You have Alejandro Fuenmayor. Was that a swing and a miss by Matt Jordan? Okay, if it was, why do you still have him on the roster? Kyle Adams, he's an RGV player. He was. Why do you still have him on the roster? If these players are not good enough to supplant a 36-year-old center back, they do not belong on the roster. They are taking up valuable money and time and positions that younger players might as well take, because guess what? They're not going to supplant Minor either. Let's put Eric McHugh on the roster. At least if Eric McHugh is on the roster, at least he has a chance to play a match or two. If Minor is the best that we have at center back to pair with Kiki, yeah, we're absolutely going to lose matches.
No, I don't understand. Like, to be honest, I don't understand what's going on with
Kenny does say he's
here
actually 37, so I want to give you credit there, Mark. He does. Kenny acknowledged he is 37.
You, Kenny. But going back to the obviously trying to dethrone Figueroa from the other starting spot next to Kiki, but what I remember last season under Wilmer, even under Wilmer, when Fuenmayor was given time to play, he played pretty well, man. He played exceptionally well for the lack of minutes that he played, and when he was just thrusted in there because they didn't have any other option or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't understand why or what's going on with his progress as far as him being that starter next to Kiki.
Yeah, and again, it's a frustration that's been building for a long time. These players as depth players should be good enough. Your Darwin Seren should be good enough as a defensive midfielder, center mid, that he can handle, having to come on and help close out matches. Nico Lemoine, if he's as good as giving him 30 minutes or 20 minutes per match for the 3 group matches you had, if he's that good, then why don't you just start him a match? Why does he have to sit on the bench? It's all of these things are my frustration. And I know I trust Tab actually, because I've always condoned that Tab was the right coach for even well beyond the point that the Dynamo was apparently looking at him. But it's a matter of the composition of the roster. Like Kenny said, it's not a roster built to succeed. It's not a roster that's built for longevity. It's a roster that's going to every year have to supplant specific players year over year. And look, we used to have Andrew Wenger. He was definitely better than what we've got now in our subs. He was light years better than Tommy Mack. Now, we didn't get rid of Wenger. Wenger retired. But at the same time, I just don't understand how we're at the point that we are. And the only thing that I can point at this point, is Matt Jordan. He is the common denominator to all of this. And you know me, I have been a Jordan supporter for years. I have vehemently defended this guy. I can't anymore. I just can't.
And I understand the frustration. I mean, I'm not gonna sit back here and not say that I haven't been a supporter of Mac Jordan in the past. I mean, the guy's done some great things. When he hits, he hits. But man, when he misses, and it seems like these misses are just showing out a lot more now than the hits, because it's he brought in Albert Elise. Yeah, he brought in Romel Kyoto when he was doing good before he started doing his dumb stuff off the field, and the amount of
look, I'm going to say this. He's hit on players. He's absolutely got some right.
Yeah.
But every interleague trade that he has made, it's always had the hype. But everyone has come up significantly short of that hype. And that's frustrating.
And you got to understand that, these players are available in trade for a reason. Like, obviously, you refer to Tommy Mack, and then, obviously we have had other players that come in here and haven't done diddly squat for us. Chris Duval, Dylan Remick, or
hey, now don't bash on Dylan Remick. He was a good player, and he had the concussion issue. I can't fault Jordan for that, because Remick actually would have, I think, long term been a much better player than what we have right now.
Yeah, you might be right, but still, it's still one. He still has to fall into the category of what ifs. So it's one of those things where, like, yeah, he's done well with the money internationally, I guess, but interleague, where you're gonna have to build the foundation of your team more than likely, especially because like we said earlier, you're not gonna spend like Atlanta United or LAFC or whatever. He needs to do a way better job, scouting these players within the league. So I don't know.
All right, so I had my rant earlier, and Sergio has joined us. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you, Sergio, but let me get my piece in before you say something. Sergio, A, welcome to the show. B, you better be ready, because I'm bringing it tonight. We talking. We going in on it. We talking about this.
So, Sergio?
I'm going to say this because I need to say this. Dominic Kinnear's final 4 years with the Dynamo were, on the whole, a failure. Go ahead, Sergio. I know you got things to say.
Okay, first of all, hey, Sean. Hey, Mark.
What's up, Sergio? Mark just flat out left. Mark just left. He was like, I'm done.
All right, so you're saying Kinnear's Hey, what's up? You're saying Kinnear's final 4 years was a failure.
Final 4 years were a failure. On the whole, collectively, yes.
2011, we made it to MLS Cup final. 2012, we made it to MLS Cup final. 2013, the Eastern Conference final. And then 14, fine. We didn't make the playoffs that year. And then he got fired. How is that?
Look, you could have fired him in 2010, and you would have ultimately had the same result. The Eastern Conference trophies, look, you can't lift those up. Those don't matter. Nobody cares about your Eastern Conference trophies. Get out of here. But what matters is MLS Cup winning, right? That's what we've always said. What matters is these things. The thing is because of this little bit of success, this taste of success, we were really close but not quite there. It set us back 15 years at least in terms of development of players, in terms of youth, in terms of our academy, because Dominic doesn't play young players. He only plays the old players. And, look, that mentality has existed. Look, the worst part of it all was because of the success that Dom had in his last two or his, 3 of 4 final seasons or 5 seasons, whatever, that because of that little taste of success, the Dynamo kept Canetti around. That hurt us more than anything else. That is why it is a failure those last few years.
That's different.
It still counts.
Because your claim was keeping Dominic Kinnear as long as we did is what makes us...
did, because keeping him as long as we did, it hurt us in so many different ways. Because he had that tiny bit of success, that little taste of success, that microcosm of success.
2 seasons in a row, a tiny bit of success.
And he didn't come away with it. He didn't come away with it. The only 2 championships that he has in MLS that are not conference championships were in 2006, 2007. The guy did not win anything after that. We were never competitive for Open Cup. We were never competitive in anything else. That was it.
What else is there to be competitive in?
Look, make me coach. I could get us to the Eastern Conference final. It's not that difficult in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, my God.
Well, just to get in here between both of y'all.
Come on, Mr. Moderator. You're killing me, Smalls.
So, to help Sergio out a little bit.
I don't need no
help. He had a second place finish in 2013. No, 2012. 2011. He had a second place finish.
He did get us to a Superliga final.
Oh, yeah. Superliga. I forgot about that one.
Hey,
man.
That's better than MLS.
Hold on.
You so wrong for that.
But to be fair,
Look, he
we
got
did
us the
lose-
CCL,
we did
right?
lose the
Eastern
final.
Conference Final. So we won a couple of Eastern Conference championships. We got to CCL. What do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for those bits of success? What do we have to show for it? Nothing. Look at the years that followed Dominic Kinnear. It was an absolute dumpster fire. And you could say, oh, yeah, it was Owen Coyle because he was a shit coach. You could say, oh, yeah, it was Wilmer Cabrera because ultimately he ended up being a shit coach. But at the end of the day, we had players that were still left over from the Dominic Kinnear regime. Look, the year that he left, we still had players that next year that were part of Dom's regime. And they still weren't that great. The best player that we had on that team, the best two players we had on that team, Giles Barnes and Will Bruin. And they were gone within 2 seasons.
Those weren't Kinnear's guys.
Don't tell me they weren't Kinnear guys. They were absolutely Kinnear guys. Kinnear brought them in. Kinnear drafted Will Bruin. What do you mean he's not a Kinnear guy?
Okay, and Will Bruin was successful.
He was, but he wasn't here.
Yeah, he was.
And Callow, to your point,
he's
yes,
a
you did
time
call it that Wilmer was a shit coach when he was hired. I remember this. I will confirm for you. But the fact is, look, I get your point, Sergio, that the final seasons of Dominic Kinnear were successful because he won Eastern Conference Finals, which meant he made it to MLS Cup Final. That's great. But look, I'm not here as a fan to be a bridesmaid. I'm here to be the fucking bride.
Oh no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
And MLS is a league of what have you done for me lately? He didn't adapt. He didn't change to the change of the league that was coming. And again, it set us so far back. I'll give you, maybe we keep in 2011, 2012, and then we keep him in 2013. But I mean, he was a coach that was proving that he was not going to be successful after a certain point. And some people say, well, he went to LA Galaxy as an assistant coach, but he didn't do it in San Jose as a head coach. He could not replicate that success. Anywhere else. By himself. He required other people.
He took us to the final. How do you fire him after that? That makes no sense.
Oh, I got a question.
Do it. Teams have done it before. You do it.
So just to play devil's advocate here towards Sean. So if, let's say, hypothetically, you fire him after the 2010 season, let's say you bring in Owen Coyle, 2011 season.
It's fine.
Do you think it's Dominic Kinnear's fault solely? I mean, I think it's more of a front office.
Oh no, it's absolutely not just Dominic Kinnear's fault.
Front office.
It's not 100% front office because Kinnear had just as much of that blame because he was half of the front office. He was the coach, he was the GM, and he might as well have been the freaking president because everybody knows Chris Canetti wasn't doing shit as president.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not telling me that it was 100% front office.
First year?
If it was 100% the front office, he should have been gone 5 years before that.
When
just
was
kidding,
Canetti's
not really.
First year?
Huh?
When was Canetti's first year?
Like 2009.
Okay.
Luck was only here for like 3 or 4 seasons and then he left.
Yeah.
You thought you had me, but no.
No. That was a genuine question because I didn't know when it started.
Yeah, no. It was like 2009. He wasn't here that long.
And the reason I bring up the front office.
Oliver Luck knew what was coming. He got the fuck out of Dodge before it got bad. No. He was like, "It's about to hit the fan."
And the reason I bring up the front office back on debacle, obviously, because like you can only blame so much on the coach. I mean, because obviously the coach just plays the players that he's given, right? As we see right now. But I mean, obviously the front office, and Canetti being up there. They tried to bring players. I mean, they brought Landine. They brought what's the other guy's name? Koke. They brought in Boniek. They brought in
Alex Lopez from Honduras. They brought in.
Sean is blaming Kinnear for how bad we are now, which makes zero.
No. I'm blaming Kinnear for putting us into the hole that we are in. Look, I'm not saying he's the sole reason we are in this hole, but it begins with Kinnear. I'm not saying it's 100% Kinnear's fault. Just like you're not saying
let go 6 years
he
ago.
was not let go. He left. He was never fired. He fucking resigned.
He was gone 6 years ago. What does that have to do with us now?
The fact that we never recovered because we were stuck in the way of doing it the Kinnear way.
Kinnear's fault?
We were trying to do it the Kinnear way because 2010 we should have fired him. So if we fire him 2010, we're no longer, even if we do the Kinnear way, eventually within 5 years we're done with that Kinnear way and we're moving on. At this point in our tenure as a club, hush your mouth and
you have so many what ifs in your statement.
So do
How do
you.
you know that?
So do you.
What are you talking
Your
about?
question was, what if? That was your whole question.
Oh, I do question at the latter stages of Kinnear's tenure with us, the player he chose, because obviously he chose Landine over Kai Kamara and he chose Cam Weaver over Wondolowski and and things of that nature. So that kind of, I don't know, that kind of those two players in themselves are 100 plus goal scorers in MLS history, and we lost those two guys for dumpster fire. So no, I understand where Sean's coming from as far as like, Kinnear maybe started it, and I understand where Sergio's coming from as far as like, dude, that's like 6 years ago. But it starts somewhere, and we were behind the 8 ball, and you know what? And I think one of the things that y'all are missing, both of y'all, in your arguments, is the fact that when Dynamo came over here, we're supposed to be stadium already for them here, and not for them to play Robertson, and they were supposed to be sold and not be under AAG. But unfortunately that didn't happen, and we ended up being the stepchild for AAG, and we kind of got the crumbs for whatever's left over after they spin on the Galaxy. So,
and it was clear that we were always the stepchild of AEG, and as much as AEG tried to kind of pad over that, their intention was always to sell the club, and the whole, every player that they brought in, the changes that they made, and look, at the end of the day, the stadium itself, it was so that AEG could sell the team. It was because they wanted to get out from underneath that debt that they had accrued. They wanted to get out from underneath that investment that they made, not because they didn't think the investment wouldn't pan out long term, but just because they weren't able to get it to be a long-term success, and they knew it wasn't going to be one if they stayed in. And the league was also pushing them out because they didn't want to continue to have teams that were owned by two teams that were owned by the same ownership.
The same owner.
Okay, so yeah, so we were the stepchild. We were only given crumbs by AEG, correct?
Sure.
And you know what Kinnear did with those crumbs?
Absolutely nothing. He inherited a team. He inherited a team from San Jose. No, you can't say that. He inherited a team from San Jose that was already built for success. He rode that tidal wave of success as far as he could. And as soon as he was done with that tidal wave, he peaced out and left us fucked.
He rode that in 2006 and 2007.
He rode that in 2011 and 2012 too.
Those were Kinnear teams.
Yes, he did. No, that was not. They had some of the same players. They had some of the same set. Yes, but it was built on the same stuff. It was built on players that were coming from San Jose.
A couple, but most of them were newer guys.
Some of them were, but they were still dominant Kinnear guys. They were still guys brought in by Dom.
Yeah, because he was the coach.
You want me to tell you the players we had for the 2014 Dynamo squad that?
Yeah, let's talk about Dominic Kinnear's the end of 2013.
I'm not saying we should have kept him after that. I agree that he should have been fired then.
No, tell me the 2010. Let's talk about the 2010 squad. Go ahead and give me the list of players from that 2010 squad.
We had players like David Horst.
Horst, Horst, Yeah, he was the center back.
He was a good guy.
He was a good guy, but not a good center back. Not a starting MLS caliber center back.
Jason Johnson.
Jason Johnson on the wing, baby, who's now a USL player, or was a USL player he never amounted to anything after the Dynamo. He was just a USL player after that.
We had a Mark Sherrod, great name by the way.
Who, by the way, was injured with an ACL tear that same season and was drafted that season. He would have been fantastic, but it wouldn't have mattered because he got an ACL tear in the third match of the season.
We had Tony Casillas.
Tony Casio was an intra transfer, the first ever intra-league transfer, the first ever one, and he also tore his ACL in the same season. Continue on. You're doing great, Mark.
I'm blaming the medical staff now.
Oh, hey, look, you're not wrong. I have always said that we have an absolute crap strength and conditioning and fitness group right now. Look, Theron Enns was fantastic. At that time, Theron Enns was our trainer at the time, and he did a good enough job, but it was so bad. And now, once Owen Coyle got here and put in his strength and conditioning coach, who is still here, by the way, we've never been able to go 90 minutes. That, to me, is the most frustrating thing. Anyways, continue on, Mark. I'm actually agreeing with you.
I won't give you all the shit players, but, you know,
But
obviously
there were
we had
plenty
Will
of them, were
Barone.
there not?
No. I'm looking at this squad list, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my god, I can't
Look,
believe this.
here's
guy
the
was,
thing.
I've
Here's
got-
the thing.
2010, right?
Here's
This
the thing,
was 2010?
Sergio. 2010, they had
2014.
5 of
No,
the same
that was
9
14.
starters. 2011, they had 5, or 2010, they had 5 of the same 9 starters they had in 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, so like I said,
Oh, I'm
this is the
saying that
2014
team
squad,
sucked.
guys.
What'd you say? Mark? I'm sorry.
2011.
2010.
No. I'm talking about the last year Kinnear was coach. You know, before he left us.
Oh.
This
Mhm.
is the squad
He's
that he
listing
had.
2014 players.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we know the 2010s they still had Brian Ching and Brad Davis was on there, and you know they still had most of the players intact that came from San Jose aside from like Wade Barrett or Pat Mullins or whatever. That might have been like Mullins last season or whatever, but like
Brian
going-
Mullen, dude.
Yeah, Brian Mullins, Pat Mullins. But like but transitioning 2014s, that's kind of like where the whole MLS 2.0 and 2.5 and 3.0 starts, you know, coming up, and yet the Dynamo are still stuck with players like these that I've named off, right? You know, that I just named off, and yeah, that's why we've had this drought because of the squad that we had in 2014. That wasn't the right way to go. It wasn't a good start.
We were not digging out of that pit.
Wasn't
2014
a good
was
start.
always going to be a dumpster fire. 2015 was not going to be a whole lot better. We were set up for failure. Absolutely set up for failure as Dominic left, and he knew it. I'm not beating around the bush. He knew what he had set up because he knew he could look at the roster and go, these guys are not going to compete. It doesn't matter how hard I push them. They're not going to be good enough to compete at the highest level that we need to get to in order to be successful. 2013, the year that Kinnear left, should have been the year that Kennedy was shown the can. They should have just kicked him out. Been like, Kennedy, you're part of this regime. You're gone, and started fresh.
I
agree with that.
Our MVP for that season was Giles Barnes with 11 goals, and he scored.
He earned it.
And he scored 6 of those goals in the last 9 games.
Yeah.
So
and like 2 of them were PKs. Like was crazy.
Yeah. So that kind of tells you where we're at, where we were at in 2014. But let's look to the future, guys.
Exactly. So that has nothing to do with how bad we are now.
That's not true at all. He set us up for failure for years.
2017 was a whole different squad than the year before it.
Right. But we didn't have anything in the farm system to supplement what had been going on. And this was never going to be a spending team. So by Kinnear doing things the way that he did, it's like the Astros when we're talking about McLean, right? Just a slight difference with the fact that McLean spent money, but it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter because it was the same thing. We were absolutely set up for failure because we absolutely took all of everything that we would have had in our farm system. We were basically handed it over to FC Dallas and said, here, we don't need these players. Go for it. And what has happened? FC Dallas has been a better team than us for a long time now.
Well, in 2014, I will give Sergio this. I mean, that was the first season for Tyler Derrick and Memo Rodriguez. So, just trying to.
Yeah, 2 players out of the academy. Out of how many players?
Yeah,
how many players?
I completely agree with you, Sean. I completely agree with you as far as the youth and all that stuff would happen during that time.
We didn't set up a good academy until what? Until
no. Oh, for sure.
The San Jose.
Until when? Until Paul Holliker. Yeah, no, I completely agree. We've never and the sad thing is the confusing thing is
that's not Kinnear saying I don't want an academy. That's people above him.
No, it was Kinnear's way of handling things because players that could have started or at least gotten minutes for the senior team never did because Kinnear was never going to play them. So if I'm a young player, if I'm a 15, 16-year-old player and I have talent, if I'm good, and I have my choice between FC Dallas, who are proving they're willing to play young players and go through their system and be built up and developed, or go through the Dynamo Academy system that is not producing anything. Which am I going to choose? It's my livelihood. It's my welfare. It's my long-term career. I'm going to go with FC Dallas every time. So Kinnear effectively set us up for failure by ignoring the academy for as long as he did this is what we have. And I'm not saying it's all on Kinnear. But it was a combination of Kinnear, Canetti, and our ownership. And it's only been, it's not gotten any better until this season and maybe last season when, bringing in Paul Holliker and all the other work that has been done in the background to bring in Deanna Witter and John Walker, who I think are phenomenal and deserve every bit of being part of this organization and have turned it into something. But now I need to see the on-field product match the hype that this team and club have built up with the work that the media and marketing teams have done, with the work that Deanna and John have done to build up every other aspect of this team and this club. I need to see it on the field, on the pitch. I'm fully bought in. I am absolutely 100% fully bought in, but I need to see the results. And I do think Tab is the right coach, but now we need to see these players that we currently have step up, and they're not stepping up.
What's the leeway you're giving Tab?
What did you say?
Sergio, I'm sorry.
Me?
Oh. I don't know. Everybody was saying something, so I was lost. Go ahead, Sergio.
I for sure give him a couple years. I mean, he's thinking long term. This isn't a short term hire.
No, he's not. Look, I'm, and this is going to be confusing because I know my stance on Kinnear makes it seem like otherwise. Like, okay, you got to have automatic success. That's not what I'm saying. With Tab, it's a different approach because we're finally focusing on the youth and we're letting that kind of build to what it needs to be. So you can't just one and done with Tab, because if you do that, you're going to bring in a coach who wants to bring in a bunch of players, and we're going to be right back in the Kinnear situation. We're going to be right back in the Wilmer Cabrera situation or the Owen Coyle situation. Revolving coaches, revolving players. I don't want that. I want players that are here for at least 3 to 5 seasons that are going to prove to be as talented as other players in MLS, as starters in MLS. And even if all they end up being is depth, even if all they end up being is as good as Memo is right now, guess what? That's better than we have on the rest of the team, with the exception of maybe Albert Elise talent-wise, but not mentality-wise.
Guys, are y'all good?
Oh, we were always good. Sergio and I are
we're
always
good.
good. We're buds. We good.
So
I'm gonna be honest. When we started this discussion, which we did yesterday, Mark, we started this discussion yesterday in the Surge Discord. I was like, it was a boredom thing, just saying it, and it is something I do feel genuinely. But it was really funny because I had to message Sergio and be like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm not quite fully that way. Like I believe it 99%, but not 100. Like a little bit understands where you come from."
Speaking about the academy, and as we sit here hoping that, one day we can achieve what FC Dallas has achieved with their academy, because, obviously they're the golden standard in MLS, right? For academy players and all that stuff. You think that this front office will allow the youth academy players to be before they hit the first team, like FC Dallas has done? Or would they want them to play for the Dynamo first team first before they go off?
That is a really good question.
And the reason I asked that, because that shows if you put yourself in the player's shoes, right, or up and coming player. Your first goal is to make the first team of whatever academy you're playing for, right? But obviously, as an academy player for a team and for hopefully a well-known academy for a team, you have other teams circling around and scouting those well, and they see that you have enough talent to come into their first team, and the team that you currently play for, or the academy you currently play for, don't allow you to go off, be sold to that team. Is that really helping along with creating the recognition and status that we want a top tier academy in MLS or in America in general?
To your point, I think that speaks to as much the general manager needing to understand the type of organization and the direction the organization wants to go as anything else. And I come back to this only because I've said for so long I thought he was the right guy for the job. I don't think it anymore. Look, Matt Jordan is not the guy for that sort of system. We need to let him move on. We need to show him the door. It is time. We've held him plenty long enough. And he's had mixed results. This team, the little bit of money that we do spend, we've got to hit on those players. And even if we succeed in the academy and bring up, 10 academy players, it doesn't matter. We still have to hit on the players that we bring in from outside the organization. And whether those are interleague trades or signings, it doesn't matter. Whether they're out of league signings, it doesn't matter. We need to hit on those players. And sure, we can miss on one every once in a while, but Jordan has missed on enough at this point, based on what I've seen, that he's not good enough as a general manager for what we need. We need a general manager who understands what we're looking for and one who's able to really truly get the job done when it comes to finding those players. Now, some of that is now going to fall to Tab and his group that he has of coaches and connections and things like that. And we're starting to see it we already saw it with Ian Hoffman, and maybe that's a sign that they're starting to change a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But I need to see the long-term fruit of that, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. And I think that I would much rather, if that's the direction we're going, with as bad as this team showed in MLS's back, ultimately, I would much rather just go ahead and go that direction and begin down that path fully and embrace it, instead of being this kind of wishy-washy, halfway there, halfway not, because that's not working.
Because, I mean, with all respect to FC Dallas, I mean, obviously, they had that 3 or 4 year stretch where they were one of the top teams in the league, and they were competing, I guess, for silverware. But during that same time, their top tier academy players were being scouted, and obviously some of them sold overseas, before they ever hit the first team. And it takes a certain type of I guess, leadership to allow a player, like, say for example, Hoffman, if he comes in next season and he's lining it up, and Germany is, obviously he played in Germany, and German teams come around and they're like, man, this kid has improved drastically, and they come back and they want to buy him, and a team from Germany comes back and wants to buy him, is our front office going to allow that to happen? Like, is it going to be another situation where we're like, no, it's because we need him, we invested so much in him, and he's the player that we want, and we brought him in to be a Dynamo player. I haven't really thought about selling him or doing something without him,
And part of that is real quick before we continue on with this discussion, Sergio, thanks for joining us. I know I give you a lot of flack, but I do appreciate your opinions and your voice and your support as well. Thanks for joining
Sergio.
us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And we hope
man,
we
go
get you back
Gunners on Saturday.
Screw the Gunners.
Hey, Mark.
Good luck, guys.
Keep up the great work, Sean. Keep trying.
You funny, Sergio. Hey, by the way, see you later, bitch. Oh, damn, I couldn't find the kick button. Damn, he got out before I could kick him. Damn it. Good job, Sergio. Well done. No, that was good stuff. But to your point, I don't remember what it was now, and I lost my train of thought. Ask your question again, or
basically, what I'm saying is, if we ever get to the level of academy where where we're one of the top tier academies in America or MLS, if European teams or any other teams around the world came and scouted our academy and wanted to buy our academy players, do you think we have the front office? Do you think they have the balls to sell these kids off before they ever hit the first team?
I don't. We've seen it evident, right? We haven't sold a single player overseas, and now, to be fair, I don't think any of our players are ready for that. But on the flip side of that, I don't think Matt Jordan is that type of GM. I don't think his valuation on players is accurate enough for the global football market. I don't think his valuation of the talent level of players, matches what the global market out there is willing to pay. A perfect example is Albert Elise. We've held on to him for how long? And look, again, great talent, terrible mentality. And I'm sure that has hindered his valuation. But if that has hindered his valuation and you've seen it as GM, it is your responsibility to lower that price and say, to the ownership group, look, man, we're getting offers at $5.5, $6 million for this guy. He's clearly a head case. Let's just show him the door. Let's let them have him. Let them sign him. We'll take that extra transfer money and we'll go find somebody else. Are you that lacking in confidence in your ability to scout and find a player to replace Albert Elise that you can't afford to sell him on?
It's one of those things where let's take let's compare Mato and Alberth, right? These two players, obviously, their transfer fee were small compared to obviously other purchases around the world, and obviously there are top two most valued players or assets now, and obviously teams around the world are going to want to buy good players off smaller teams in smaller leagues, right? So that goes back to saying it, like, is it where they don't have a plan in place? Because I would think that you want to grow and progress players as much as possible, so that way when somebody does come around to buy them, you get great value for them, or you get great money for them, and then you go around, flip it back, and go look for another Mauda or another Albert Elise. You think their scouting isn't up to par, or is it just that they're too slow on the trigger? Or because I mean, like, obviously we're gonna play Monday morning quarterback here and say, like, look, man, you should have sold Albert 2 years ago when his value was so high that people were trying to pay $8 million for him, because and compare Albert Elise from 2 years to now. Yeah, he's grown. Yeah, but he still has a lot of fundamental things that he has to still fix, like finishing. He doesn't finish. He gets a lot of chances, but doesn't finish quite enough to be ranked as one of those top players in the league. Obviously we know he has the pace for it. We know that he's been a national team player and he has all these accolades, but he's not the complete package. He's still going to have to go somewhere and still grow his game. But knowing that, I mean, as a GM or head of scout or whoever is over there, don't you think that you should have kind of pulled that trigger sooner and been like, you know what, man? Yeah, we did a great deal of business here. We got him for $2 million. We're gonna sell him for $8 million. Let's go find the next Albert, or let's go find the next whoever.
I think so AJ asks, and so we'll double back on this question, but AJ asks, even if we sold him, would we have even spent that money? I think it's a really good question to ask, because I think that's a very valid question. The second thing Kenny says, I think, using last year as an example, I think there was a desperation to hold on to hope for the season and try to make the playoffs. They held on to players hoping for the best. And I think that's probably true and accurate. But I also think we're talking about a general manager that continues to overvalue players that are in his system currently. The valuation for Albert Elise when we were talking about selling him at between 6.5 and 8.5 million, every one of us said, you sell him at that price. Look, you have to at that price. You're not going to get better than that. Even if he goes out the next season and has a reasonably decent season, you're still not going to get that price again. Now, look, hindsight being 2020, like you said, we're looking back on it now. But I think the thing is if we're not going to sell the players we bring in, then why are we bringing them in? If we're not going to sell them on, they're not going to stick around forever. They want that opportunity. So give them the opportunity. Prove to other players you're going to give them the opportunity, and you're going to be able to recruit a lot easier other players that want to come here. Kenny also says, when Cabrera was fired, Jordan talked about how the team could still make the playoffs even though they were so far off. I think Jordan has to say that no matter what the team composition is. He has to say, as general manager, yeah, we're not that far off. We're right there. We're one, maybe two players away, and we're going to find that player. And I get that. That's team speak, and it's going to happen no matter if it's a coach or a general manager or otherwise. It doesn't matter. You're going to hear that. Look, Dom said that multiple times. It's a common phrase to say. They say it in NFL all the time. But the fact is his valuation of what's available right now, whether it's on the market or otherwise, it clearly doesn't match what the global market values these players at. And I can say that safely because I look at the valuation that Albert Elise had at the beginning of the season when we were still being offered $4.5 to $6 million at that point before the season started, and we didn't sell him. At that point, you no longer have – you still have the hope of playoffs, of course, because you're going to have that every preseason. But at that point, why don't you sell him on? At this point, you were literally 3 months, 4 months, 5 months roughly away from getting him leaving for nothing. At this point, there's no guarantee he sticks around.
It's you can tell the way a club runs its business by the way they handle their players, because if Matt Jordan in the front office thought so highly of Elise 2 years ago where they wouldn't sell him for the reported $7-8 million that was thrown out there, why didn't you sign him to a contract extension during that time period to where you increase the release clause or whatever, so that way you're not in this situation
And
now
why not just
where
go ahead and sign him to the contract extension? Even if you believe you're going to sell him on in the next year, just sign him to the contract extension. That's not a hard thing to do.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have this is what all the clubs all around the world do, man. Yeah, we're gonna sell this player, but we just want to make sure we get fair value for him, which is totally fine. Obviously you're trying to get as much money for whatever player you sell on. But if you're sitting there with your hands, tied behind your back, talking about Albert Elise is great, and we want 10 to 12 mil when you're only offering 7 to 8. Okay, that's great, and if you have that much faith in him that he's going to progress as a player, then great. You sign him or give him a contract extension. That way, you're going to have him. You don't have to worry about him running his contract down, like obviously he's done now, and you're not going to get him for nothing. Now you're losing your quote unquote maybe best player in the club, top 2 for sure, talent wise, and you're getting nothing for it.
Yeah,
so all that,
and again, it's not a guarantee we don't sell him. There's still time.
Yeah, there's still
but
time.
At this point, if at this point, if I'm an outside club looking in and I go, well, why would I bother buying the player with less than 6 months on his contract, when I know that in less than 6 months I can just buy the player, for whatever I want to pay him. I don't even have to pay the club anymore.
The only reason a club would do that is if another club comes in interested strongly, right? So obviously he's been rumored with Celtic and Fenerbahce and I forget who else. There's somebody else, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But like say for example, if those 2 clubs really want him, then obviously one of them is going to have to show interest, and that's the only way that the Dynamo can come up with, with maybe getting a little value for him. But aside from that, dude, you're not going to get nowhere near the value that you should have gotten from him. When his value was at his peak. But again, that's just the front office kind of dropping the ball there, man. And it shouldn't have been done that way. And hopefully what you're talking, Sean, is we kind of don't want Matt Jordan to be in the front office for too much longer, I guess. So I
don't want us to pull a Kinnear and keep him around longer than he should be here. And he's come to the point where he probably should not be here much longer.
I just don't want the front office to continue. Hopefully this is a one-time deal where they learn from this mistake and they can move on and learn from it,
I mean, there comes a point, talking about Matt Jordan, there comes a point where if you keep Matt Jordan around and he continues to swing and miss and he hits on a few players, but he continues to swing and miss mostly, you end up with a situation where you dug yourself another hole that you have to get out of. You got players that you can't sell. No one's going to want them. Look, nobody right now wants Tommy Mack. There may be a team that's willing to trade you a freaking 4th round draft pick. I mean, we're talking bottom of the barrel, value. No team right now is going to give you good money for Boniak. No team is going to give you good money for Minor Figueroa. You could trade Kiki, I suppose, but, and Alejandro Fuenmayor, maybe there's a team out there that wants him, but not for much. Nobody's going to give you the value for the players that we have that we need in order to replace those players. The fact is we have players that their value is far below the value, market value, the global market value is far below what they actually bring to the team. And that's fine and well.
So
go ahead.
So I'm looking at the transfer market for the Houston Dynamo squad right currently.
Sure.
There's 3 players valued at over $1 million. And this is
obviously
it's
got to be Mauro, Elise, and the other player has to be Kiki. I'm not even sure on that.
No, you're right. It's Mauro, Elise, and Vera.
Vera. Okay, Vera, I can understand. That is actually a really quality signing, but
that's But like I said, yeah. like you said prior, and I said so myself. I mean, maybe his course has run. I mean, this whole thing. I think they have this whole idea. The Dynamo have this whole idea of club legends. where you have one like Brian Ching and Brad Davis who stay here forever.
Where does that idea come from? Where is that idea ingrained into the culture of the Houston Dynamo? Where did that idea originate in the Houston Dynamo? It's a very simple question.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Great show. Fantastic show. No, I'm just kidding. We still have 15 minutes. This has been a banging show. This has been probably one of our best shows in a long time. I'm really proud of this show.
Yeah, so I mean, they still have this idea of a club legend where that player stays with one club for the whole career and it's all that, and that's great. That if that happens, but that happens so rarely, man. And global football, I mean, and it just is that's not the way soccer functions in this reality, in this world, in this 2020, 2021. It doesn't happen anymore, man. It's not that way, man. The Francisco Tottis and the Messis, and that's it, man. Basically, I mean, that's the only players I can think of off the top of my head for right now that that were one club players, and even a Steven Gerrard, who was a Liverpool legend, he came and played for LA Galaxy, but it's just one of those things where they got to get out that mentality and not to keep players forever, man. If you can get a player to play great for you for 2 to 3 years, maybe 4, great. Then you sell them on, you bring them back down, you start all over again, and you keep going. And hopefully during that time span, you make it to the playoffs, you win a couple championships, win some silverware, great. Like we need more signings like the Vera signing. Matias Vera is one of the bright spots in the Matt Jordan era. Obviously Mauro is as well. Albert is as well, even though, obviously now 5 years into it now, we're like, we're kind of like, he's kind of plateaued as a player here. He's kind of done whatever he's going to do here. It's time for him to move on. But we can keep finding, some more Matias Vera's hard workers out there, players that are progressing and coming through the ranks and are young. That's what we need to do. I mean, if somebody came in right now and offered me $5 million for Matias Vera, do you think the Dynamo are going to sell Matias Vera?
I don't, and that bothers me.
Damn shame, because they only got him for what, $750K or maybe $1 million, I think.
If that. It was below that actually. I don't even think it was that much.
That's good business. That's great business.
You're absolutely right, and that is why, and the fact that we can even have this discussion. And the fact that we both feel that it would not happen is because Matt Jordan is a terrible GM.
And it's just it's kind of having the front office and tunnel vision, because you're bringing in these players and they're doing great for the amount of money that you're spending, right? Like you're relying on these players to stay here forever. That's the wrong way to look at it at this. They're looking at this that way.
I guarantee you. I guarantee you, the player that Matt Jordan right now respects the most is Boniek Garcia because of how long he's been here.
Yeah, of course. But look at Boniek was great the first 3-4 years, and yeah, I mean, and no disrespect to him, but obviously age has caught up to him. The last 2 or 3 years, there's so many times where I've seen Boniek take a shot at goal, and I'm just like, oh my god,
there's no way
that happened.
Or
yeah, like,
I mean, the first 13 minutes of that LA Galaxy match, Boney had 5 passes that went straight to LA players. 5. Oh, it was so infuriating. So infuriating.
There's no disrespect to him. I mean, Boniek has been a great MO, and he's done a lot of great things with the club and obviously in the community, all that great stuff. But you're bringing in these new players, whoever you bring in, you're doing great with them. You're paying minimal transfer fees, hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million here and there or so, and then you're flipping them for $5-6 mil. Dude, that's great business. Keep doing what you're doing.
That's more than that's. There are teams in the global market that would die for that sort of return on investment. I mean, they would absolutely clamor for it. Sure. And here we are with that opportunity. We've had that opportunity year over year. I mean, we've gotten lucky that Elisa's value hasn't declined dramatically enough that we've been completely sunk. But the fact is you've had multiple opportunities. You've had opportunities to sell Morrow on, to sell Elise on, and okay, fine, maybe you don't have replacements for them ready to go, but you have to be okay with that because you have to be ready to sell these players on because you need that money to let you have flexibility to do other things. You need that money to go find the next Matias Vera at other positions, or to find the next Morrow, to find the next Elise, to find the next, Romel Kyoto, whatever you want to say. You need that money to do that, and especially with the way our ownership is.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, just taking Manotas, for example, for actually the prime example, how much longer do we want to keep Mauro? Mauro's 24, about to be 25, Like,
yeah.
How, your value starts to go down with age because, the soccer life isn't, for everybody. Not everybody gets to go play till they're 38, 39, 40 years old, and you can only have so many prime soccer years in your career.
We're starting a 31-year-old or 32-year-old. I don't even know how old Boney is anymore. A 32-year-old center. No, he's not 35, 36. I'm pretty sure he's 32, 33, something like that.
Oh, you're wrong last time. You're wrong this time again.
Go look it up and let me know, Mark. Go look it up and let me know. Regardless, you're starting a guy that's over 30 in your central midfield and expecting him to be an anchor for your offense. Because that's what they're doing. They're pushing him forward so that he can be an anchor for the offense. 30. He's 35. Damn, he's 35. Jeez Louise. He's 35. Good job, Mark. Way to know your ages. He's 35. So you're starting a 35-year-old center midfielder and expecting him to play like a 25-year-old. Expecting him to hold the team up. And you're giving him the captain's band to be the leader on the team. The hell, the guy's just trying to keep up with the young kids running by him.
The only reason he has the captain's band is he's the most professional player. He's
a class act. There's no doubt about that. He's absolutely a class act.
But the only reason he has that band is because of his longevity, his seniority, I guess. No other reason why. Because if Elise wasn't the head case he is, whatever, he should be wearing that armband. Your top player should be wearing your armband, the top vocal player, because I don't see Boniek yelling at people or riling them up, riling up the troops to try to go out there and fight for this win. I don't see that kind of attitude coming out of Boniek, and that's what you need in a captain. Obviously, with what we saw with Rachel Daly in the dash, that's what you need sometimes. You need somebody to kick the other players in the ass, to get them up and going. And that's not Boniek, man. And if the only reason he's wearing the armband is because he has the longest tenure here, that's not the right reason for somebody to carry the armband.
Look, Memo's Calla says, I feel like you mean Memo should be wearing that armband, homegrown all Houston. I disagree completely. Look, Memo's a great player. He has plenty of talent. That dude is not a leader on the pitch. He's really not. He's an emotional player, which is great, but that's not the same thing. You got to have somebody that can actually inspire other players to up their level of intensity when they start to drop.
And the bad thing is, like, who do we have that does that? Like, realistically, who they might not be the best player, but at least they have the same quality on the pitch, as they do off the pitch.
No, we've said it multiple times. We don't have a true leader on this team, period. No. We don't. There are players that could be that, but they've not stepped up into that role. So, with that being said, then it falls on Tab to find players that are going to be that way, right? And the reason I say it falls on him is because he's the one who's going to benefit the most from leaders on the pitch. Matt Jordan, it is difficult to quantify in terms of value, the value of leadership. It's very difficult because you can find talented players, but if they're not leaders on the pitch, it doesn't matter how much you spend for them. They're not going to be able to lift the team to the next level. And that's where we're at.
Yeah. It's a shame, man. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, everything runs its course, and unfortunately, maybe we're coming to the end of Matt's, or what we think should be Matt's run. But I mean, who knows? Obviously, Brenner is the man with the plan, and he's the one that makes those decisions of who stays and who goes. And maybe Matt Jordan has put money in his pocket. I mean, who knows? And if he's done that,
got them pricey nudes.
If that's the only thing he's asking him to do, then he's done his job. Then he might be staying another 6-7 years.
Oh dear God. Ugh.
But
scary. Preposition.
But yeah, man. But just let's talk a little bit before
time
runs out.
I had something else and now I forgot it.
Okay,
Damn it! It was so good. No, I forgot it. It was so good. I forgot it. I just said I forgot it.
Oh shit. Okay.
Well, it'll come back to me, and I'll be like, you'll be in the middle of your spiel, and I'll be like, bah! Go ahead.
No, before we go, let's talk a little bit about the MLS's back tournament just in general. Obviously the way the Dynamo flamed out was horrible. That penalty at the end of the 90th minute given to Pavone. Obviously the ref. Whatever everybody says is the refs, but
no. Look, you had chance after chance after chance to finish that damn match. At least had an open freaking sitter in front of goal, and he couldn't nail it.
Should have that in that position. It's funny that in that match, Iko Hansen started, which I was happy to see.
And he looked pretty good.
He looked really good, man. He had that one pass that Mauro headed in. He should have made it. One of the chances that they've missed, and he did. He was really good on pace. Obviously, he's not as quick as Elise, but very few players are. But he did what he needed to do. He came in, he played with the ball, he looked the part, and he looked like he was ready to go, man. So maybe you have something there, man. You got to give these guys a shot, man.
So here's the thing: we brought in Nico Hansen over a year ago, or about a year ago.
Same time they brought in Christian.
Yeah, summer transfer window last year. So you brought in Nico Hansen, who's clearly at this point, you can see it physically in that match. He's ready to be that starter. So you have your replacement for Elise. So sell Elise. Just go ahead and sell him. You've got a player that can play that position. I don't get it. I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. And to Callow's point, you have Victor Cabrera, who looked pretty solid as a center back next to Kiki. So why don't you go ahead and start Victor Cabrera instead of continuing to trot out old man Minor, who, don't get me wrong, he looks great sometimes, but he wears out so fast in matches because he's so freaking old.
I mean, you brought him in. You traded Kyoto for him. So obviously you thought he had some kind of value and would bring some kind of value to your defense, especially because of all the goals and late goals you would give up last season. And if you're not giving that guy a chance, then what was the point? Because that's the thing I don't understand. Obviously, Figueroa, for his age, he's doing great things, and the fact that he's starting is just still astonishing to me. But why isn't Alejandro Fuenmayor starting? Why isn't Cabrera starting?
And if Fuenmayor's not going to start, why is he still with the team? We're 4 years into that experiment. It's time for him to go. And I like Fuenmayor. I think as a center back, he would be great. But you got to give him minutes in pro games.
Exactly. Like I said, I don't know if he's just sucking in practice or what's going on, man. But the few times that I saw him last season, he did really well. So I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if his practicing sucks or what's going on, man. Or he just but give the kid a chance. He's a 22, 23-year-old player. That's what you're looking for. So you brought him in, and if you're expecting or hoping to get any kind of value from him in the future, you need to play him.
There's going to be a point, because of the way that the team is constructed, that Boniat Garcia is going to be gone. Minor Figueroa is going to be gone. You're going to lose some of these older players. Tommy Mack is going to be gone. You're going to lose some of these older players. He will. You're going to lose some of these older players, and it's going to open up opportunities for young players. And I just wonder if maybe the front office is kind of approaching it from the aspect of, we know we have this young core coming up, and we're just trying to kind of make our way to that point to get there, to get these young players to play. I don't know. I guess we'll find out eventually, but it's really frustrating to be at that point right now where we're looking at this, and it's been this way for 4 or 5 years now, to look at this and see that this team is clearly not moving up. We have we have talent. That's not a question. We have talent, but it's clear we're not able to put that talent together. And I need a general manager that can go out and find pieces that play well together. And that is what we are missing, is pieces who play well together. We had it in Kyoto, Elise, and Morrow. Look, that was a fantastic trio up top and could have been, lights out legitimate. But we gave up on Kyoto because we were done with him. And that's fine and well, it's good. But you replaced him with nothing at that point. Absolutely nothing. Memo was coming up. Memo's not that player on that side who's going to be a winger. He's going to cut in every side every time. And, you know, Darwin Quintero is not that replacement for Kyoto. It's just a different player. He plays deeper. He plays, you know, he likes to cut inside too. So tactically speaking, you know, there are plenty of players, there are plenty of opportunities, plenty of talent on the pitch. But at what point do we stop being the oldest team in MLS?
So before we go, let me just tell you that the players are coming off contract after
God,
December
there's so
31st.
many of them. Was there like 12 of them?
Yeah. Like, so Michael Salazar, remember that guy?
Matt Jordan,
Christian.
by the way. Christian, Matt Jordan.
Nico Hansen.
Matt Jordan.
Matt
Jordan.
Tomas.
Matt Jordan.
Koniak.
Not Matt Jordan, that was Kinnear.
Darwin.
Matt
Darwin
Jordan.
went.
Matt Jordan.
Minor.
Matt Jordan.
Alejandro
Matt
Mayor.
Jordan. That was Matt Jordan.
And Michael Nelson, but whatever.
Matt Jordan. That was a draft pick, but also Matt Jordan.
I mean, you know, you're gonna have it looks like we're gonna have a huge turnover for next season. But
how many of those are actually starters?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
2 starters, 3 starters, maybe. No, not even that. 2 starters. 2 starters.
Tomas maybe is the
Tomas
highest.
isn't a starter anymore.
But I'm saying, like, as far as the highest profile name here, as far as like, you know, who played.
Yeah.
Tomas is probably the highest one, and then maybe followed after Christian.
Maybe.
Those are they're not regular starters.
They could be. I mean, look, Christian could be a regular starter if we change formations. We're not going to, but he could be. But you brought him in to be that backup tomorrow, and, you know, to be that. Here's the thing: you have somebody in place to replace Morrow when Morrow leaves. So go ahead and sell Morrow on. If you're getting offers worthwhile, anything above $3 to $4 million at this point, I'm taking for Morrow. Anything above $3 to $4 million, I'm taking for Elise. I've got replacement players. They're not going to be permanent long-term replacements, and that's okay, because guess what? These are not permanent long-term players anyways. It's time to move on. With that being said, guys, hey, it has been a wonderful show. It's been an awesome show. Thanks for joining us. I do really genuinely appreciate it. I always have a lot of fun with you guys, and Mark has always a lot of fun with you. We do appreciate it, guys, and we will be back next week.
Hold on, before we go, remember to like, and subscribe, you know, and please help us, you know, pass it on to the other Dynamo fans that you know. We're trying to get to that 100, you know, subscriber mark. Help us get there.
Yes, 100.
All right, guys, y'all have a good one.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one. Thanks again for joining us. We do appreciate it. I don't know how long we've been out.